Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Amir Fan bin Idrus, and our group will be presenting on the mid-air collision of Bashkirian Airlines Flight 2937 and the DHL Flight 611. So buckle up and enjoy the presentation. Now, the question given was, what is the system used in aircraft to reduce the risk of mid-air collisions? Now, the answer to that is TCAS. TCAS stands for Traffic Alert and Collision Avoidance System. Now, the purpose of TCAS is, number one, is to advise pilots of other aircrafts in the area. And the second one is to provide pilots with instructions to climb or descend in order to avoid probable collisions. Now, the picture shown depicts two pilots communicating with each other, comparing altitudes using the TCAS. They can communicate and can fly in different altitudes. Now, moving on to the versions of the TCAS. We have three versions of the TCAS. Number one is the TCAS 1. Now, this is basically a system which provides only position advice. Now, moving on to the second one, which is TCAS 2. This provides position advice and can give instructions to the pilot to ascend or descend to avoid collision. Now, the last one is TCAS 3. This is a further development of the TCAS, which provides lateral instructions such as bank to the left and bank to the right. Now, there are several components of TCAS, 4 to be specific. Number 1 is the receiver or transmitter. Number 2 is top directional antenna. Number 3, bottom omnidirectional antenna. And the last one is the control panel. Now, moving to the first one, the receiver or transmitter. This is basically a black box assembly and it's mounted in the aircraft electronic compartment. It has full built-in test equipment by it, which is capable in fault finding. Now, the second component of the TCAS is the top directional antenna. This is a 4-element vertically polarized monopoled array that is capable of transmitting interrogations in 4 selectable directions of 1030 MHz. It is connected to the TCAS computer using 4 coaxial cables. The antenna is capable of receiving replies of 1090 MHz from all directions at the same time. Now, the bottom mounted omnidirectional antenna is basically identical to the ATC transponder antenna. Now, this picture shows the antenna locations. Now, the last component of the TCAS is the control panel. There you can see many selections using the knobs on the control panel. That is all for the TCAS, and now I would like to invite Muhammad Afif to present on the principles of TCAS.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Afif bin Azizi. Thank you to my friends Muhammad Amir Irfan for the very short and precise explanation or answer about the first questions. Now I will go through the second questions, which is review on the principal operation of the system. So this question is basically talk about the TCAS principle. So I will explain about the TCAS principle today. So the number 1, TCAS operate independently of any ground-based installation. The second one, the system or the TCAS system uses the air traffic control tower, as known as ATCT, on nearby aircraft to detect the presence of those aircraft. Number 3, TCAS aircraft using the same frequency, which is 1030 MHz and waveform, as ground-based air traffic control sensor. Number 4, send replies at 1090 MHz. It is actually transponders or nearby intruder aircraft receive this interrogation Answer replies at 1090 MHz. The fifth one is N. ATCT regularly transmits. And ATCT regularly transmits approximately once per second a transmitter signal that identifies the transmitting aircraft. Number 6. TCAS equipped aircraft in the vicinity will monitor the 1090 MHz frequency. When a valid identification signal is received, the transmitting aircraft identification will be added to the list of the aircraft that TCAS equipped aircraft will interrogate. So the number 8. Number 8, the TCAS equipped aircraft will then interrogate each of the aircraft. So number 9, the replies are received by the TCAS antenna of the aircraft. And lastly, a directional antenna mounted on the top of the aircraft fuselage provides a capability to determine a bearing of the intruder. Okay, that's all from me. Next question will be answered by my friends Aman. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Narzahatul Amani binti Muhammad Azman, and I will be presenting the information display on cockpit regarding the issue of mid-air collision over Uberlingen, Germany. So this is the very simple chronology of the event. The official investigation by the German Federal Bureau of Aircraft Investigation identified as the main cause of the collision a number of shots coming on the part of the Swiss Air Traffic Controller Service in charge. So both crews received a traffic advisory at first. They were ordered to descend to 35,000 feet, while the other flight received descent resolution advisory too, but the orbits. TU-154M following the first commences to descend, so the crew confirms. While Boeing 757 received resolution advisory to increase descent, but the TCAS design controller were notified by the Boeing 757. So now both aircraft were in descending order, and then they collided at approximately at 35,000 feet. Back on topic. So this is the primary flag display. Primary flag display provide increased situational awareness. So the purpose of primary flag display is to indicate the pilot to show the position of the aircraft, whether it is on climb position or whether it is on descent position, or the aircraft is on stay level position. Okay, now we have navigation display. The navigation display screen displays the lateral navigation status of the aircraft. The main characteristics of the navigation display is the color screen and the ability to display different modes and functions, such as route, flown, VOR, AFD, ILS, weather radar, and GPS. So if you look at the second picture over there, the navigation display with the representation of the target aircraft. The target aircraft is represented by the white chevron. If you can see there, the merging configuration is highlighted by a double dash line linking the target and delegated by the converging point. Last from me, I've got intruder aircraft symbols. Intruder aircraft symbology visualized using TCAS style symbology. Unfilled diamonds for non-conflicting aircraft, filled diamond for low priority conflicts, filled circle for medium priority conflicts, and filled squares for high priority conflicts. Intruder symbology as shown on the VSD, the TCAS symbol is shown together with the separation margin, a vertical speed arrow, the relative bearing in hours clock, and the intruder distance in nautical miles. And I think that's all from me. Thank you. I hope you all understand.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Next, I would like to continue about the cause of the accident of Bashkirian Airlines Flight 2937 and DHL Flight 611. Okay, the first cause of the accident is related to the air traffic controller who was late in noticing the danger of the collision because of several reasons. The primary radar system was under maintenance on that day. Because of the maintenance, this will place the radar system in their fallback mode, and as a result, minimum separation between the aircraft will increase from 5 miles to 7 miles. The ground-based optical collision warning system, which would have alerted Nielsen to the pending collision 2.5 minutes before it happened, had been switched off because of the maintenance. The fallback radar mode also means that the STCA mode was not available at that time. At the time, Skyguard also guilty for leaving a lone controller on duty on that night, causing the air traffic controller to manage both radar screens by himself alone. The next cause of the accident is due to different corporate culture between countries. The conflict starts when the Bashkirian Airlines Flight 2937 received climb command from the TCAS, but at the same time also received descent command from the ATC. Meanwhile, the pilots of DHL Flight 611 only follow TCAS as their guidance to avoid the collision. This is because in Europe, pilots are trained to follow TCAS to avoid confusion among them. The Russian crew, in the other hand, was trained to receive information from both the aircraft traffic controller and TCAS command. Only then they will make decision by referring through this information whether to climb or descend the aircraft. At that time, there are no specific guidance about TCAS because IQ decided to leave the rules up to individual governments. This will lead to confusion among pilots on who to follow instructions from. So, these are the causes that can cause the accidents of this aircraft. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, I would like to present the solution to increase the safety and awareness of the risk aircraft collision. I have two important points to increase the safety of the aircraft. For the first one is improve TCAS system. TCAS should be improved to detect aircraft collision at a longer range and while at the same altitude. This is because the older TCAS system only can order reverse direction if pilot ignore the first order by having both aircraft to be 100 feet apart of altitude. So, regarding the incident, the TCAS only want the pilot to descend for DHL and climb for Russia. There is a no reverse instruction if the pilot does not take any action. Better training and clearer instruction to the pilots. TCAS also is redesigned to change its ambiguous adjust vertical speed voice command to change to level off to increase proper response from pilot. My second point is draft the ICAO law. Corporate culture among countries need to be standardized as pilots from countries like Russia are trained to accept both command from TCAS and ATC, but the pilot himself will decide which one to choose. Whereas, countries in Europe will always follow TCAS for their first choice. ICAO should firm with the TCAS rules in order to avoid confusion among the pilots and air traffic controller. ICAO should not leave the rules up to individual governments and standardize the rule for all countries. This is because we want to avoid this incident happen again. That's all from our group. Thank you.